Hey everybody, welcome to Spoiler Mode. Easy Allies has finished Control. This is your final warning. Spoiler Mode is activated. Now.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode, activated.
Hey everybody, Control.
Yeah,
What'd you think?
it was good. I had a good time.
Great. See you guys. Bye. No, yeah. Ben, you didn't see. It's perfect in every way, right?
I don't think it's perfect in every way. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I played. It's interesting. Did you guys play on
I played on PC.
PC?
I played on a standard PS4.
Okay.
Pro.
So I was PC. So I had I didn't even know about frame rate issues or anything until the game
really?
came out, and everyone was like, frame rate.
Because
And
I've
I'm
seen
like,
even
oh.
some people on PC have.
There is a
some
little bit, yeah. So
Yeah.
like when you unpause, it'll skip a little bit, and there were moments that were like, but it was never enough for me to really. There's nothing notable, or it didn't ruin the moment. For
Mine
me.
just crashes when I unpause. So.
I didn't have any
nice.
crashes. I didn't have any crashes. That was for
I
had one.
I had a few,
One
yeah.
crash, and it was the hilarious point because it was like right after what I'm pretty sure is the final cutscene, and then trophy, and then blue screen.
Oh, no. On a PS4?
Yeah.
Wow.
Man. That sucks because that whole ending,
whole
the way it
ending.
presents
Yeah.
itself and then dumps you back out into the world, I thought was really, really
Yeah.
cool and a great touch.
Did you? Let's just talk about that for a second. Did you talk to your brother when he was held in captivity?
I did.
Because he describes that as his dream. And that's how, it was interesting that it's like you're
Oh.
living out his dream. Because he's like, I had a dream where you were a office assistant and you got everyone coffee and it went on forever and it was perfect.
Ah, man, I really loved that sequence as well because Control doesn't do a lot of like outright horror moments, but when you're as the dream is kind of like progressing and you're seeing those guys with the hoods on,
Yeah.
and
Just
just
sitting
how
there typing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was a little freaky in a cool way. Yeah.
But yeah, we skipped right to the end. Let's start at the beginning.
Well, we were talking about performance, and I definitely had I was telling Hubert, I was actually sending Hubert clips. I'm like, Hubert, look at this. This is
It's like, oh shit.
I got into the archives or whatever, and that whole area.
Containment?
Chug.
In the containment
Yeah,
sector.
yeah. Big open area, I imagine.
Well, no, the main that's the thing with it's with the performance, it doesn't make I couldn't figure out what is actually causing this because it didn't feel like a consistent thing. The archives area wasn't that big. It was about the same size or smaller than the dead letters area. But it did have one of those sphere things in it, so maybe that was.
Oh, I know which
causing
part
a
you're
lot
talking
of-
Did have the
Yeah.
guys swarming the stuff around them as they
Yeah.
moved around? Yeah, that's slowed down. When there was multiple of that, I'd see
The,
little
astral-
dipperoonies.
Yeah, I don't.
Dip.
I didn't have any frame rate stuff, but so crashing was my thing. Only when it was if I tried to quit the menu while it was saving, I think is what caused it.
Oh.
I got my save file back. Though.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm happy about that.
Dude, good.
Retail version with a save, end of the game, glorious.
Excellent.
Yeah,
But
'cause
yeah.
I guess on PC when it updated, it just
When it
moved
updated,
the
it-
save file somewhere.
It moved the files. It kept the files in default Epic user, but it wants the files to be in default dash Epic dash user. Of course. So you just have to go into app data local roaming remedy and copy them into that folder. If that happened to you, which it probably didn't. But anyway. Yeah, so you play as Jesse Faden. You start off just showing up at the Federal Bureau of Control. Classic weird fiction style. Things are confusing and strange at first. You don't really know what's going on. And then you slowly are drip fed more information. And I would say ancillary text documents if you want to read them, which I really enjoyed. I read probably 90% of them.
Yeah.
Brad and I were talking, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, but I definitely think that
there
they
was
probably
rooms I was in, and there was legit 4 documents in a small
Yeah.
area, and I'd read them, and they're just
Yeah.
huge things, and a lot of the documents just have stuff blacked out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine, but
Redacted.
it's just why does so many things inside this building have this? I was hoping that you would like unlock something so you could read them with an unredacted, but I didn't find anything like that.
Nah.
There were 2 moments like that where I had like a little ludonarrative dissonance, where I was like, I'm the director, especially at the very end. It's like, I'm the director. I should have clearance to read these things. Also, there's that one mission where you go and help that guy with like the anchor or whatever in that area, and this little grunt has level 9 clearance.
Yeah, I was like, how the hell did he get in
I was
here?
like, how do you
This
get
is
level
Coulson
9
right here?
clearance? I've got level 6 clearance. I'm the director.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
But the,
So that
but the
bothered me.
IT guys have been affected by the hiss, so there's nobody to give you a new card.
Sure.
You have to get cards from somebody.
One in the expansion will probably get level 9 clearance.
Yeah.
We'll just skip 7 and 8.
Yeah, I think there was a density to the reading that was both, like, I think worked for the game and eventually could, depending on how you were feeling and the kind of mood that you were in and what was happening in the game, could feel like a little bit much depending on what it was. But there was some stuff, like that puppet show was really
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see that.
cool.
You didn't see the
my-
TVs?
Oh,
the
that.
puppets?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Threshold Kids. Yeah.
The Threshold
I love
Kids
Threshold
was
Kids.
fantastic.
So
Anything
weird.
with Darling, I thought was really
Yeah.
well done.
The music video at the end was so bizarre. I was like, here we are, Remedy.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I think if you're gonna play a Remedy game, you expect some like them to indulge themselves a little bit, and I think they do it in like such a specific way that it can be really entertaining. But
It felt very measured from Remedy this time. Like they used it in a sparing way. The live action video
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff.
because things were shorter.
Where and it felt like the right amount and the right fit to me. Like it kind of meshed with the world, and like even the huge amount of writing, which is a lot. The reason it didn't like bother me was like I'm in an office. This would be all over the place. And part of the pedigree of this game is SCP, which is just a whole bunch of written articles about. It's a website. Check it out. It's pretty weird about stuff like this, like weird artifacts.
Yeah.
I don't think we would feel that way though if like the hotline calls were mandatory,
Right.
or were presented in a different way. Like you're right that them just kind of being like, hey, get through these whenever you want, and then yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think if they had made some more stuff in your face and stopped you, it wouldn't. It would have just messed up the.
I
pacing
definitely
completely.
did not watch all the hotline calls.
No.
Oh, I did, yeah.
I watched like the
But
ones
some
that
of
were
those-
obviously about things I didn't already know about.
Yeah. The ones with Trench were fine, but some of the ones with the board, I was just like, what is even
board.
this trying to say? Or like was
Yeah.
or sometimes they just felt kind of like just sort of pointless.
Sometimes it was funny because they're either so obtuse that you're like, huh? Or they're so on the nose that it's like, oh, okay. Like the one called The Future, they literally say like, we'll see you again in the expansion. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
DLC confirmed. Great.
One thing I thought was an interesting touch is with just like how much lore and documents and stuff there is. I felt like there was more lore in places where those files should make sense, and I really felt like there was a lot of thought put into the placement of
sure.
where those files would show up.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
things would talk about things were like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like the rubber duck thing is near where the rubber duck is.
They'd
or
be
whatever.
researching this here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big only real like thing that I thought was weird would be sometimes because you would just get documents for enemies when you would fight them.
Yeah.
So like they would almost be like they would get ahead of themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
So they'd be like the Hiss soldier or whatever. I'm like we've never even talked about the Hiss yet. Like we've already like revealed the name for this thing.
Right. I thought that was a little funny, yeah, because I definitely read some documents before Jesse coined the name The Hiss. But not justifying that because that's just a video game thing, but like there were a few touches that I thought were really cool. Like when you became the director, all the pictures in the whole building
That was-
became
Yeah,
you.
loved
I was
that.
like, that is so cool. And everyone like knows about you already. It's like, oh, okay. You're the new director.
I thought the beginning was like really slow because one, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and then two, your like combat proficiency is so limited. So it's like story and gameplay both together started really slow, and just the way everything progresses. One, you start learning more stuff, and then two, your combat opportunities and prowess like increases so much.
Yeah.
So it's like you're learning everything, the mystery's getting deeper, combat's getting really crazy, and it's just all this upward momentum.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a
Yeah,
negative
no,
for you.
it was a negative in the beginning. I was like, oh, I'm not in it yet. Control seems fine. And then the second time I played, it was just
Yeah.
started getting there.
What were you gonna say, Ben? Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. The beginning was a little slow to me. It didn't last too long, and like it was one of those things where the more that I played the game, the more that I liked it, and eventually, like it just fills everything out in a pretty satisfying way. And I think the slow burn for a lot of it works really well. But I think just in the beginning, where you're just trying to find something to grab onto, and like Jesse's not really giving you anything. The oldest house isn't giving you really anything. The hits aren't really giving you anything. And so you're just like, okay, well, where's my starting point? And so I just didn't feel initially invested, but it's kind of interesting because it was like almost flipping a switch where like I was like, I don't care yet. Okay, I care a whole lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, yeah, and I'm trying to think of what moment it was.
I was gonna say, do you have a
specifically.
sense of when that was?
Yeah, I think once you get to Marshall
Yeah.
and you start learning more about Dylan, and I think it's when to really give you like a pinpoint moment, it's when Jesse is like, I'm going to be a little bit more forthcoming with Erica.
Right.
Yeah.
And is a little bit more revealing about herself. I think that was where I really started to get interested in the story.
Erica, Emily.
Emily.
Or I
Emily?
keep saying
Oh, yeah.
I keep saying
Pope.
Erica. I'm sorry. I mean Emily. I mean
Because
Pope.
Erica
beginning, I was-
that other game, that was
Yeah.
live action.
I mean Emily. I mean Emily Pope.
Yeah,
So-
I was scared to like get attached to Emily because I was like, well, there's only like so many characters in this. Is she gonna like be sketchy? Is she a villain?
Right.
So I was like a little apprehensive at first, and I was like, dude, she's the best.
Yeah, Emily Pope is really cool. I really like her a lot. She was the character I probably she and Darling were the ones I, even though you never meet Darling,
Right.
I kind of expected to maybe in the DLC because it's unclear like
for
what happened to
sure.
him.
Right.
It seemed like he went through some portal.
It's also
Marshall's probably,
There's
like-
also some weird thing that they're saying with Northmore, the previous director.
I have a theory because that big weird enemy that you fight in some of the side quests is called Former.
Yeah.
I'm
freaking
thinking
thing.
that's the former director.
Yeah, because that plot line kind of just has a loose end.
I'm not.
That's my
Yeah.
guess, and you only know it's called the former if you have that on in subtitles, I think, which is really weird.
That
maybe.
thing freaked me the hell out, dude.
Yeah.
That to me was the scariest thing in the game by far.
The second time I fought it was so much easier because I fought it at the very end of the game. So I was just like, oh,
Well, that's one of the
Freaky.
Yeah, that was kind of exemplified like one of my like bigger issues with like combat and particularly with boss fights is just like so much of that fight, like I didn't die for like normal reasons. I just died
Fell
because
through the floor?
there'd be a hole that
Yeah.
That's
suddenly
like
appeared.
90%
and
of
I
my
had
deaths.
no idea.
with
where-
that enemy, that's like 100% of the deaths, I think. Except
Yeah.
like once you learn to just evade the big finger things, you just die because you fall. You can't go back up once you're slow falling.
That's actually something, man. Instant death through falling, especially when movement is so important, is disappointing. It's something that I appreciate about Astral Chain, where if you fall, like you'll take damage, but it won't be an
won't.
instant loss of life,
Yeah.
which is cool.
That would actually be better, I think, in this game if you just like
you can get punished for it. I think that's fair, but
yeah.
yeah.
If you
Maybe take, like, half
levitate
your
it up
health
and
or
it
something.
takes half your health, or yeah.
The deaths were extreme. It didn't bother me. I was like, oh. Whoa,
I think
but
you
it-
lose money. I think
I-
you lose money when you die too. Because when I was
Maybe.
fighting the mold over and over again after having never upgraded my health,
Yeah.
my God, I was losing a lot of money.
Oh, really?
I think I unsure.
I
but
don't think
so.
I don't think you lose
I
cash.
don't think you
My
lose
money was
anything.
going down, but I don't know where it was going.
Just so I don't forget it, I just want to give a special mention to Darling's performance. I'm not sure of the actor who portrays him, but he did such an exceptional job of being this character that was so fascinated by his own work and so committed with it. Like he just conveyed, I think, that kind of giddy obsession, and then just seeing him slowly kind of like rationalize the terrible things that were happening and try to downplay them in his mind to like just outright like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
what is happening? It was just a really, both the way that the game presented it and then the performance itself, I think were pretty fantastic.
Let's talk about Darling, because I think that the trajectory of that character is super cool, and the way the game presents him is at first you kind of believe Trench, and Trench seems suspicious of Darling, and then you're like, Darling is handing out these HRA.
HRAs, yep.
HRAs to certain people, and you're like, well, that's weird. And it's like, well, he knew this was coming. That's weird. Like, but then if you read all the little documents and stuff, one of my favorites was a document. The two people that were in his videos were like flirting with each other and trying to date each other.
Yeah.
But then there was one where they were like, why does he have us in these videos? All we ever do is just stand around.
I do remember
And
that.
it's so
one.
funny because then one of them, you just see her like weirdly like doing lab research,
Yeah.
and she like kind of like looks over.
She like they're like looking at each other. They're like
'Cause
flirting.
It's like the guy. It's like the cameraman's just getting B-roll.
Yeah.
And like they're just awkwardly like trying to do their jobs, like wondering why is the camera
why are we-
on right now.
I love the way that they would do character development, because early on when you're talking to Emily, she's like, I wish Darling would have given me more access.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see in one of the Darling videos, Emily is off screen talking, and Darling just seems like kind of dismissive of her, and so you understand a little bit better where she's coming from in that relationship.
And
But
then
it doesn't happen immediately.
there's a document that you can find, I think pretty late in the game, where he was talking about, he was recommending who should take on new roles and whatever. And he says Emily would be really great at this, and she would excel in here, but it might be too dangerous. So it's like you get this weird sense that he like really believes in her, but also like wants to keep her safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a weird way, and I don't know if there's like more to it than that or whatever, but like if it's like a father-daughter sort of a, not literally, but like some
She seems so
mentality.
gung ho that she would like risk her life.
She
to
would
do-
risk-
She
yeah.
would do something crazy.
So it
her
was
research.
interesting because Darling super believed in her. Because at first you think he keeps passing her over, but
Right.
it's like he super believes in her. He's just really worried about keeping her safe.
Yeah.
There's a moment at the
Speaking-
end when you give Emily like the free reign to be the head of research, and
Yeah.
she just feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that moment was good. What were you gonna say?
Speaking of documents, I think it's a good time to bring up Alan Wake.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So you guys saw something
Yeah, I saw a
that I
video.
didn't see.
I didn't see that. Brad saw
I didn't
that.
see the
I saw
video.
like
It was
four
Where did
you
other
see it?
documents.
I think it was
so-
near like the objects of power.
Yeah.
Like, the
It's one of the
research area.
object. It's one of the altered
Yeah.
items in the Panopticon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I looked everywhere.
It's
in that
like
place.
his silhouette, and he's like typing on a typewriter, and he's narrating like he does in Alan Wake.
Oh man, I gotta find that
Yeah,
because I
it's-
read
it's
all those
literally
documents.
A page that he wrote is one of the items that they found.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I read that they found one of his books.
Yeah.
In the like dump site.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few documents.
so
I was
many.
surprised
It's
by
like
how
2 or
much
3 at
that
least.
they put in there. Yeah.
Like, you know, I love crossovers and stuff, but at the same time, they've got to be done well. And I thought this was handled so perfectly and so believably.
It makes sense.
Like, it made me rethink of Alan Wake so differently in such an awesome way. It made me just want to go and like play that immediately. But just the way that all connected and made the world of Control feel even bigger.
Yeah.
Just by mentioning that stuff.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, comparing Alan Wake and Control in my mind, something that I really appreciate Control, and I don't feel like you get this perspective very often, is a lot of times it's like, okay, you know, I'm just this person and some crazy phenomenon is happening to me. There are these monsters, I don't understand them. Oh my God, they're terrorizing. Whereas Control, what I like is it's like, no, like, this place has existed for a long time. We're an entire bureau studying this.
Yeah.
We understand it. We've broken it down in all of these different ways. We have all these departments on it. And so I think this just that kind of like more analytical side, and then you just trying to understand how this place functions was interesting and not a perspective that we typically
Right,
get
yeah.
with this kind of story and this
Yeah.
kind of enemy.
And that's so cool because you think of Alan Wake like, you know, going through that crazy situation.
Right.
It just it makes me think of that so differently. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there's like there's this interesting blend of like they're used to weird stuff happening,
Right.
but they really still don't get it. And I think that's like one of the things
Yeah.
with the documents for Alan Wake. It's like they kind of like try to. It's like they're explaining what happened there,
Yeah.
even though like he really didn't get it. He didn't know what was going on. in
That's
that
what
game.
that's what I loved about the Bureau of Control on the whole is like they're like a combination of Mulder and Scully where they're all like they all buy it because they see it happening.
Yeah.
And they're all analytical about it, so things don't like freak them out usually. Like when someone is getting freaked out, you know something is terribly wrong.
And I think that speaks to why maybe I felt a little bit distant at first from the happenings of Control, because everybody's a little bit distant from it. Like everybody you interact with, and even Jesse yourself, it's like you're handling this a lot better than I
It's,
would. Like
business
if I
as
just saw
usual.
people floating around,
Yeah.
I'd be a little freaked out.
Whispering demonic.
Right, but then
tones.
of course the more that you play, that all kind of comes
Makes
to
more
light,
sense,
so.
yeah.
Well, there's a cool moment early on when Emily is like, "Hey, you've got the power to like cleanse these points. Why don't we try it on a person that's been taken by the hiss?" And then Jesse goes over, you go over and you try it, and it like makes the person dissipate. And you go back to Emily and you're like, "Yeah, it didn't work. They're dead now." And Emily's just like,
Can you guys
Okay.
explain the motel? So is this just like a safe space within the
It's-
oldest house?
it's
an
outside.
It's,
It's
not
so-
in the oldest house.
it is
The
where
doc-
it is. It's in like
Okay.
Oregon or
Dude,
wherever.
it felt the most Alan Wake. When I started getting those
Yeah.
documents, I was like, dude, am I gonna walk
Did you
out these
notice the
doors
posters
and be in
changed,
Bright
too?
Falls?
The posters change, like a lot of the stuff changes. It like
rooms,
it,
yeah.
it's a metaphysical place of power that like changes to suit certain needs or whatever. It was interesting though because Trench said that they've only ever been able to open the Black Pyramid door until
the janitor.
the janitor
Yeah.
thing happens at the end. You open another door, which I thought was
actually,
cool.
Like I was afraid there was a bug or something at that point because
Oh.
the door's not opening. I picked up the key, right?
Yeah, and I saw the janitor door and I was like, oh, because that wasn't there, I don't think, or it didn't say janitor before. But like there is one. The second or third time you go through the motel, you can hear two people on the outside trying to like
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
room. They're like, "Hello, it should be open." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well,
But
let's go somewhere
It all
else."
comes back. I think is what you're going to say. It all comes back to the light switch, the chain. They're like where they had found. There's some event or whatever
Two
where
of
they
their-
found
yeah.
the chain first, and then the agents investigated and they disappeared, and so they had another agent investigate and disappeared, and then all of a sudden they eventually found the agents in the oldest house, and then the light switch started like duplicating itself into various
Yeah.
places, and they learned how to basically use it to their own advantage.
So they use it to like traverse the oldest house.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it's my understanding of it. It doesn't seem like it's something that they completely understand, but they
Yeah.
use it as a means of travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this kind of stuff. And this is a commonality in a lot of weird fiction or a lot of kind of weird artifact media is they don't fully understand a thing. They know just enough to how to use it to their own advantage, and they don't want to poke the bear.
Yeah.
And I love that because that seems to be the way they're kind of handling everything in this game, where they're like, we kind of get it.
Yeah. For as much as it for like, even though it wasn't immediately like, oh my god, I love this game, and eventually I got to that point. I really admire the boldness of a video game doing that because like I'm so sick of games being like, okay, in the year 1483 there was this king and then he betrayed these guys and now they own those lands, and it's just like I feel like games are not willing to make you uncomfortable or make you confused, especially to the extent that Control does, and
Yeah.
it's something I'd like to see more of. Yeah.
That's my favorite. I mean, this is my favorite genre, like weird fiction. So I love this, but like that element of it, the gray area, is what I love the most about it because it's like we're not gonna give you the answers because like the characters don't know the answer. Like you have to be okay with ambiguity because that's just
Yeah.
where we're at, and I really like that.
I think that extends to Jesse as well.
Yeah,
Where Jesse is such a fascinating character because, like, she obviously cares so much about Dylan, and she doesn't. She's in a strange situation, but those aren't like used as emotional weaknesses. Like, she even like rejects a lot of what's happening. Like when she talks about Ati, and she's like, "Hey, I had to, do physical labor, and that was a really great experience for me." Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of characters in that situation would kind of have a freak out moment, and I admire their commitment to her, like staying as in control, I guess, as she does throughout most of the story.
well, that's what I love about her. Yeah, is she has these cool contradictions throughout the game that get that kind of fall in line with each other. But at first, she's like, "I'm nobody's director. I'm not in charge. I'm me. I'm just here for me and my own reasons." But then a little later, she's like, "This place just feels right to me.
Yeah,
like
she
does.
I've been
Right.
wanting to do this my entire life without even knowing it.
And then she remarks, "I love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines in
I
the
love
game where
that,
she's
yeah.
like,
I like it here.
it's weird that this is more comfortable to me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like because she's the perfect director. And like, there's a part where you're talking to Emily, I think, and Jesse's like, how is it strange that I have such pronounced powers, you know? And then Emily's like, let's put it this way. The director before Trench, the former director whose name I don't remember right now.
Northmore.
Yeah,
Northmore,
Northmore. Director Northmore was the most attuned to these powers before, and he once moved a bowling ball 6 feet. And everyone was like, whoa. And it's like, you're throwing
Yeah.
like refrigerators at people
Yeah.
from across
yeah,
the room.
there was something about some of the objects of power that was it the safe or something where they were just talking about like, oh, this is how far we've been able to use it
Yeah.
or whatever.
And you can just like walk up to stuff and be
I
like,
really liked the flamingo one.
the flamingo is cool.
Oh,
I just
It
did
was
that.
short and
yeah.
sweet and just like really cool. It was like good colors and like flying through. Whoa.
Yeah.
I do think
The
it's-
red light, green light one was.
Yeah.
the
dude,
traffic light
yes.
was great.
Because I kept being like,
That one was great.
the first couple of times I tried it, I'm like, okay, I can't be in the light.
Yeah.
And I kept losing, and I was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, red light, green light. It's like, I just stop moving. It's just
Quick
so funny.
shout out to the bathrooms. We judge bathrooms
Yo.
here at Easy Allies really hard. The bathrooms had a fatal flaw.
Physics on the toilet.
Fatal flaw. Every time you open up a door, the toilet paper roll falls off to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single
Usually
one.
through the door too.
Sometimes the toilet
Fatal
itself
flaw.
would go.
Fatal flaw.
Yeah,
That's the-
because
that's
people were like,
the-
"Yo, dude, great bathrooms." I was like,
Patch it, dude.
fatal flaw."
It's
There
the
was-
problem of having everything be a physics item, right?
Right.
There was something I just wanted to latch on to how capable Jesse was that
Yeah.
I also appreciated. I really love, for as capable as Jesse is and as much as she handles on her own, I appreciate that, like, you still see other people fighting sometimes. It's not
Yeah.
like, okay, we're not going to do anything while you're out there doing stuff. Like, it just makes the world more believable to me. Like, if you have this entire office and you have
Right.
people who are alive who can fight, like, thank God that
Especially
the
if you
game
really
actually
cared
goes out of
about
its
them.
way to do that.
Right,
I didn't want
especially
those
if you
people
do
to die.
the especially if you do the bureau like alerts. You like show up
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
some of the alerts will be
6 guys
people-
are like fighting these things and you go help them. You know, yeah, it was really cool. What were you gonna say?
Just how much I wanted them to live.
Oh,
Anytime
yeah.
I came into a scuffle, I was like, I gotta save these people.
I really and like when you unlock the new area, like solving, like turning on the HRA or whatever,
Yeah.
big machine, you know, like those scientists stayed in there and were like continuing to work on it. And at the end of the game, when you're like, hey, the lockdown's still in place, so we'll have to keep trying our best, but you know, kind of back to business as usual.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Dylan? I felt like in the
This is one of my biggest
He's
criticisms.
kind of the weakest.
yeah, and I feel like maybe years from now when like all the DLC and like Control 2 is out, maybe I'll feel differently, but I feel like they kind of just are like, here's this mystery that we're going to pay off way down the line.
It seems like
Or
my
like-
my gut is like because he ends in a coma at the end, and like
He's
there
asleep.
wasn't.
I kept going back to check if he was awake.
Yeah, I
after
would talk to
every,
him all the time.
Every side quest I finished.
I haven't
kept
gone
going
back to the containment since the end of the game yet, but like the end of the game felt like a little bit of a whimper, sort of, because like
Yes.
you fight
I
your way to
Yes.
Dylan.
It
nailing
does.
my two biggest things.
Right,
Yeah.
you fight your way to Dylan, and I mean, I think what they're going for is that sort of like ultimate power moment, because like the board supercharges you with like unlimited ammo and whatever, which was fun. I already kind of felt like a superhuman god already, but like you fight through all that, and then you just get to Dylan, and you're done. The
Well,
game ends,
Dude,
It's
the,
just-
the
which didn't
changing-
bother me, but like,
It-
yeah,
I feel like what hurts it is you have that absolutely stunningly brilliant moment where you're
Favorite-
going through the ashtray maze.
favorite
As
moment of
opposed to being
2019.
God
Like,
Almighty.
it's-
Favorite
It's
moment
my
of 2019.
favorite moment
So
of the
funny.
entire game. It's
Yeah.
so funny. It's so unexpected
Yep.
the way that it plays
the
out.
janitor dude.
And then
Culmination.
after that, it's just kind of like, all right, cool. Here are some long waves of enemies, and it's just like this is not to follow
yeah.
up that moment and to end the game. It's just not gonna stick with me in the same way. And I agree. It kind of leads to this.
The
sensation
denouement
of it.
came a little too early.
Yeah.
But I loved even after that. I kind of loved it though. The only problem I had was just kind of with him and just kind of the ambiguity and like it ending. I loved all the fighting too because after the Astral Maze and all these waves of enemies, it was just like, yes, like give me opportunities to use everything in a dangerous situation, because I feel like a lot of the game, kind of near the end, it's like a couple enemies are coming and I'm such a god now.
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
killing everyone.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way at all. I feel like
Yeah, I
like it
didn't
wasn't
feel like
it
that.
wasn't
Oh.
it wasn't testing me in a new way. It was just doing
business
like
as usual.
It's just like, all right, here's these same enemies that you're fighting, and there's going to be a lot of them. It's going to take a long time, and it's just more. It wasn't. If it was like some cool challenge that I think where it felt more like what you're describing, where it was like here is really a test of your abilities,
Right.
but it just kind of felt like a continuation of what
I
I
think
had done up to.
I think it was meant to be the opposite. Actually, I think not a test,
No,
but
it
a
was like,
victory
let
lap.
loose.
It's
Yeah.
a victory lap.
Let
I think
loose.
that's what
No,
they
I'm
wanted.
talking
Yeah.
sorry, what I'm specifically referring to is like the ascent where you're turning off the.
The satellite thing.
The
That's what I
satellite.
was
Oh,
gonna bring
that
up.
part.
Like that
That
was
is-
not.
that
I
is
died
really
a couple.
drawn
I
out.
died
That
a
was
couple
pretty
of times
boring,
there.
dude.
Yeah.
Like to me,
Yeah.
that just felt like slowing you down for the sake of slowing you down. Like that whole end of the game just feels like really weird how everything else was built up in the game. Now there's just like full speed ahead right at the end, and it ends, and I'm just like, what? I don't feel like any kind of like like it doesn't have to be concluded all the way, but I didn't feel any sense of like it's over kind of thing. Like, yeah, you're the director, it's cool, but I'm just like, I'm still here. Everything's still going on. I thought I like did something with Dylan, but everything is still the same right now.
Yeah. You know, it's a little
Totally,
strange,
totally.
and they set it up is
Marshall
Trench.
and Trench.
Like there wasn't a boss, and like
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think of like, well, who would have been the boss? And it's like Trench. Like
Yeah.
Trench shows up as like this hiss god, and you have to fight him.
Or just even a little more with the brother, or
Yeah.
The thing about Dylan is I actually think it could have been a really cool moment, because up until that point, up until you meet Dylan, that is really a driving force for Jessie.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
She's really concerned about it, and she wants to find them, and they haven't seen each other in forever. And so I really do think like the game is setting something up like pretty explicitly, and then when you get there and it's like he's just gone, that could be really cool. Like to be like, hey, you don't get that emotional payoff. But I think like at that moment you needed Jessie's armor to crack a little bit more.
Sure.
She doesn't really seem that broken
Bothered
up.
about
it.
She
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
she just
Yeah.
kind of accepts it. She's like, oh,
Totally.
okay, this is what's happening.
Because I think one of the things that they do with that whole section towards the end is they really, and Dylan is part of this. It's like they really start to make you question, why you're even there. And,
Yeah.
and she says some things about it, and you start to see the files about her, being
Yeah.
recorded during her
Yeah,
therapy
yeah.
sessions, and them following her and tailing her, and you're like, hey, what is going on? Like, did somebody
Prime
set
Candidate
all of
7,
this,
baby.
yeah, for me to be
Yeah,
here?
It's
And
Kotsky.
it does a really good job of kind of like making you think about, okay, well, who is the bad guy? Like, making you question that for a bit. But then,
Especially when you were wondering for just a split second if Polaris/Hedron is bad.
right, yeah,
You're like, wait, am I on the wrong side of this?
So
and
is
then
this,
it isn't.
Do you never want video games to do this, guys? Where, so what if like this DLC comes out and it's free and it's this huge big thing with Marshall and you're going to find her and you get some like payoffs.
Did Marshall disappear? She was
Marshall
disappeared?
disappeared.
Gone,
Yeah.
dude. Do you-
Really? I thought
like,
she was just
I think
hanging out in
your-
the
Marshall
your
HRA.
based
base-
it on Central Executive.
Your base game needs to
Oh.
have a conclusion, or are you okay if they're like kind of setting up?
I think
more?
you have to be careful, and it's especially tricky, I think, for the kind of style that Control goes after, because what works, I think Control is at its like most attention grabbing when it is mystifying, and obviously like you have to explain some things and you have to contextualize it a little bit, but I think there is a danger of over contextualizing it
Yeah.
a little bit, and
Yeah.
so like it would be kind of lame if it's like a 2-hour DLC and it was like, wow, it just made everything like super black and white where a lot of the
Here's
mystery's
all the
gone.
answers.
You don't want that, but
Yeah.
I do think if you are like in the case of Dylan, it was like they did stuff that didn't feel right. I think that's different than like over explaining things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I just needed like a sense of satisfaction, I guess. Like, I don't need all the answers like that. I understand that they may want to do more of all this, but I just didn't, I felt like kind of just like the same after it's all over.
totally.
And yeah.
And I think I was okay with it initially because I still had side quests to finish up.
Right.
So then I went back and I did all the side quests and I was like, all right, give me that one last bonus
Right.
side quest to
Yes.
kind of tie everything together.
nothing?
and then it's nothing. And then I went online. I was like, oh, I did them all, and that's
and
it.
it's just done.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then I even went to go talk to like Emily. I was like, then I checked the brother. I was like, is there any additional dialogue now that I've finished
Yeah, there is
everything?
additional dialogue for every basically
like-
quest giver. Like if you go to Underhill and if you go
Yeah.
to Langston and all that, like they all have new things to say after the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wish because they like set it up that you're at the end, like the director, you're really cool with it. You're gonna fix all this, but you fix it and like nothing changes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I think that's a
It's like
story.
they hit
Like
the
not
pause
even just a
problem.
little
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's a great way of describing it, Huber.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely seems like, hey, there's a lot more
Yeah,
coming.
pause.
Right.
There may not be, but you kind of get that sensation.
I mean the game literally in that hotline thing, they literally say like in the expansion. But like if I were to guess what's gonna come forward, and like I'm very excited for the future of Control
Yeah,
because
Marshall, dude.
I'm super excited. You're obsessed with Marshall.
dude. They hyped this up 100 times.
To me, like Marshall was like, I went and found her. She went to HRA, and I never spoke to her again.
Dude, they mention her so many times. They're like, hey, have you seen Marshall? Like,
Well, maybe because
dude,
she might be
so many
sketched because
times.
she was Trench's number one.
Her disappearance is felt
Yeah.
through that
People
game,
talk
dude.
about it?
Yeah.
Blood had something you want to say, so I just want to make sure that he can get in there.
With Marshall, basically, yeah, Arish, like
Yeah.
he's kind of
security
like
guy,
the
yeah.
last person to have seen her because like when they were leaving,
I really liked him.
Yeah, he's funny, yeah.
yeah, when they were leaving the Atlas room, the thing that supposedly changes shapes or whatever, that big sculpture
Yeah.
outside of BlackRock Processing, he said he saw Marshall there. You know, and then I went looking around, but like she's just gone. Like
Sketch.
and like
I wonder
but-
if she's
but,
in
like,
the
some of her-
restricted area.
Some of her soldiers are like, you know, like, oh yeah, Marshall can take care of herself. She'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
So
Ripley,
there's definitely
dude.
something there.
They're setting something up.
I saw somebody say online too, something like a theory that like Northmore was actually like part of the reactor or something.
Oh no, that's not a theory. That's
That's in
it
there?
might be Northmore, but I read a thing that straight up says like there's a person inside the
Oh, I thought
power
that was-
thing.
I thought that was Dylan, and then he got
No,
out.
no, there's some. It might be Northmore. There's a
Okay.
person inside the power reactor
Cool.
that previously had like done some shenanigans and like moved the power reactor or like decorporealized the entire like building, and so they had to put all these like protective measures to keep. Yeah, there's a person that's powering this whole thing.
I just love this. There's so much to dive into and
It's a
talk
dense
about,
game.
and it's so dense without ever like explicitly saying it.
Which is yeah,
your
great.
fave.
I want to kind of piggyback off that. I think we were kind of talking about like payoff versus ambiguity and like where the line is. I think a perfectly ambiguous character, like I think they nailed him, was Ati.
Yeah,
Where
because he's clearly some kind of like extra like planar
Terrestrial.
right. I don't know if he's an alien, but like
Right.
he's an extra dimensional being.
But I love that they did that where at least what I read about him in the supplemental stuff only added to that mystery, and I feel like he's just that kind of character where you finish the game and you're like, wait, what is Adi? And
Yeah.
you can just kind of like, that's entertainment right there, trying to think about the interactions that you've had with him and his role within the Bureau. And yeah, that was a satisfyingly ambiguous character because they always kept him in that area.
Yeah.
In a way that I thought
My
was
favorite
One of
stuff
the
is like
documents,
some of the
dude.
documents. One of the documents is just like,
How is he
how
here?
does he,
Yes,
why
how
does
is
he
he
have
here?
clearance?
Yeah.
Why does
How
this
did the
janitor have
janitor
clearance?
get
How did he
here?
get up
Yes,
here?
yes, yes,
yes.
Like he shouldn't have clearance. Why is he here?
Well, and I love too how he's there, you know, in that ending sequence in the office, and he's just kind of encouraging you.
Yeah. Because he knows what's going on. Like that's and it's the perfect kind of like trickster god kind of character where it's like they understand what's happening. They're not going to tell you.
He was like at the end. He's like, I picked the like perfect assistant or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and finishing all the janitorial jobs is really funny when you just like take a rest
Oh.
on the couch and get the janitor.
I
outfit.
was surprised. I thought he was gonna do something because he was like hyping up you returning the favor to him. Then you like go to that whole area, like
The foundation.
and at the
yeah,
end, and he's
foundation kinda
there,
Felt like it
and you're
didn't
there.
Really pay off.
and I was like, "What?" And you just, I was like, "Oh, okay."
the crazy
Okay.
end part.
Like, yeah, I was like, "Okay." Just so
When-
that
when
huge
you're
area with like the
underneath
structures,
the-
yeah.
the
You like
quarry.
ride the car down and stuff.
Yeah, when he's on vacation
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you like find him on
And there's-
vacation, he's
and
like,
there's,
"What?"
Like the crazy tree or whatever engraved in the foundation.
Yeah.
Pillars and
Here's the thing. I think if I were to guess about the next expansion or whatever, like I bet we maybe find some slides or something, go to another plane of existence, follow where Marshall is, maybe even go into Dylan's head or something to try to I think they're going to try to patch up the Dylan thing. Because it is a really interesting dichotomy and you get the impression that the Bureau was just trying two different control groups, controlling Dylan the whole time to see what would happen and letting Faye and Jesse go away and live her own life. But they were priming them both to be P6 and P7 the entire time, they were using them the whole time. And it's really cool. Yeah. And I hope that Jesse gets to bridge that.
Maybe this is just my problem with the game, or it just feels like there's just loose ends at the end. And I feel like the game is just all about loose ends and nothing's really cleared at the end. You get a few things here and there, but I felt there was just too much. It felt like the game, I don't know, they made a start, but it's not done. They got more to do to this game right now, and I feel like once it's all out, it'll feel a lot better. But how it is now, I don't feel that feeling of
for sure.
satisfaction from it.
It's scary. Yeah.
I think, to me, going back to saying that the stuff at the end just kind of feels like a gameplay versus story problem, is I feel like it almost limited the ending by wanting for you to be able to go back and finish side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Though I do love getting to just be the director.
I love getting to
it's
talk
very
to
cool.
people.
Director suit.
outfit,
But the
dude,
fact
yeah.
that we
Even
even
though the
have a reason for
asynchronous suit is
enemies
the
to
best.
still be here, so
Yeah.
let's not have the hiss cleared out.
Right.
And it just kind of makes everything feel like, I guess nothing is really going to progress.
Maybe
past this
they could have
point.
just done one of those things of at the very end, hey, if you pass this point of no return kind of thing like that.
Right.
Have
Someone
something.
with the side quests.
If you finish
thought that
everything,
was
yeah.
I thought that
you
too.
know?
When you
it's
me
a little
hearing that, I'm
weird,
a little disappointed.
I'm
at
a little
that.
disappointed
That would have
about
been really awesome.
Give me one last good one
Yeah.
for 100%ing it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily closure, but just a
little more.
one little morsel of something.
something.
It's
to-
so
But there
put a
might
pin
be
in it.
some secret weird
There might-
stuff
there
that we
could
just
be.
Yeah, there could be.
It's so
right.
funny
You're right,
because I really agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, and I had my own problems with the ending and with Dylan, and it's one of those games where if I think about it and I go and I have a discussion on a show like this, it's yeah, that would have been interesting, or what about this? Whereas Control, in a lot of ways for me, is a game where a lot of it was more about the suggestion of what was going on.
Right.
It was the
Yeah.
atmosphere. It was just kind of going and basking in it and willingly being overwhelmed. I think it was a game that was intentionally trying to overwhelm you. It's in a lot of ways it's a game that I feel like is more about the journey, and I think it is very intentionally trying to do that. And so it's hard for me to, even though I do think there are just some straight up things it could do better, it's hard for me to come down on it the same way where I would other games, because it feels like its intent is different.
I agree completely, and the funny thing, philosophically, with a video game that is staying so true to this kind of weird fiction vibe, is if you take the Southern Reach trilogy, for example, which seems like the easiest because there is a bureau and the main character in the second book calls himself Control. But these books, they're usually pretty notorious for at the end of the book, you're kind of what though? Like the characters and yourself, you're still just left kind of in the dark because you're dealing with things way beyond your own understanding. And so I think there is an element of that happening. That said, yeah, I think Blood nailed it when you said a gameplay v story thing, because it's you still do want there to be some kind of
Yes.
satisfaction at the
because
end.
that's my least favorite thing in life is unfinished stories.
Yeah.
Weird
fiction might not be for you.
This is really cool if we get more control, but if
Right,
it were to
yeah.
end right now, I would have this feeling of unfinished business, and I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I'm fighting two feelings. Where I definitely had a lot of the same reaction to the ending, but it's something that I admire so much about Remedy games. Is I don't want everything to feel the same. It's actually, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, this is kind of similar to the response that I had to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where as I was going through it, just watching these characters interact was so entertaining. But then I thought about it, I was like, that movie didn't have this
story?
incredibly elaborate story
Right.
or plot. There wasn't that much that happened. There wasn't a lot of A to B to C. It was just kind of being there. And so
it's a chill out movie.
yeah, I definitely think some of the things that were presented could be better, but I don't know. I appreciated the journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the game does a great job at that. I just feel like it lays too much out there without covering enough of it. I have no problem with the game doing that. I just feel like there's too much where I didn't really learn a lot. I did play this game over like 2 weeks, and I know you guys went through it a lot faster, so that
Yeah.
could have been a thing of like me just not playing for a few days or something like that. But I just felt like I learned some, but I feel like I should have learned a little bit more about this.
Sure.
And some of that might have to do with how much of the supplementary stuff
For
you
sure,
read
yeah.
too, because like there were a lot of fun little moments where I like read about that Christmas tree and then
Yeah.
just saw the
Totally.
Christmas tree and I was like,
That's-
oh, there's that tree.
That was
ah."
just a thing for me of like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
reading these things and I'm like, there's just too many and they're too long. And I'm
sure,
just like,
for
okay.
Yeah, because I actually felt like they almost, they leaned more towards explaining almost too much in a way.
Some of the arguments, maybe.
Yeah.
Some of
Not to bring up this old chestnut again, but thinking about Dark Souls,
What's
where where my experience
It's all right.
initially playing through it, what is like, I have some idea what's going on, and then you hear about things, and it kind of adds to like this legend status
Right.
of the world, and you're like, oh wait, what? That's really going
that's
on.
what I'm hoping is in this game. Like I
Yeah.
hope there's way more that we haven't seen.
And
Yes.
it's certainly not a one-to-one comparison because the way they present themselves is very different. But I kind of have that sense with the Control. Like there's still a lot to do in Control, and it's disappointing that hearing being like, "Oh, I did all the side quests and I didn't get that." Like that's a bummer because I like the idea of being like, maybe if I just go in here or I talk to this person or I do this objective, I'll get like this little bit of a nugget. I like
Yeah,
that.
I do think the side quests have a lot of nuggets, and that's actually like one of my favorite things about the game is that like there's so much of the game that like I'm wondering like Crit Path, like how much of this is really missable. Like I was
Right.
talking to you early on,
Yeah.
I'm like
A lot of
the
the powers
shield
are.
feels missable. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I think you could
Shield
miss
is
evade.
missable.
You
Some
could
of the
miss
weapon
shield.
forms.
Yeah, you could certainly not get several of the weapons.
I just want to make an argument for the shield. It's so good.
Yeah.
you,
Shield's
you,
cool.
you gotta like do some effort to understand its use, but it will save your ass so many
The
times.
floaty guys that throw stuff at you. Shield is
Dude, the
ace.
like ground pound.
No, the
Oh, ground pound is hilarious.
you
too.
don't
floating one?
You
Yeah.
don't
That's
interact
so
with them
fun.
that much, but like the guys that disappear and then reappear.
Yeah.
If you don't use the shield, they can really mess you up. But you can just tank their
Yeah.
attack with the shield, and then you
blast
have so much time to counterattack.
Yeah.
It's really useful. So.
but yeah, like for one, the whole arc of the mold.
Yeah.
Can you just skip all of that? Like,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
no point that I can remember where
I don't even know if you get anything
Oh, wait,
besides
no,
the
you do
ability
have
to
you do have
live
to
through
go
the mold.
some mold to do the Ati quest.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the mold that
I don't.
hurts
You don't have to do the AT quest either.
Yeah.
So like I think you could skip immunity to mold entirely.
Or, no,
And-
I don't mean that. I mean when you have to get to him for the ashtray maze. When you have to go to the foundation.
oh.
But that mold, I don't think that's the damaging mold.
Yeah, there are two kinds of mold. It's hard to tell.
But so that's interesting because I feel like that whole thing.
Or
is,
it's just short enough you
it's
could fly over
fascinating
it.
as it
Yeah.
is. Like you don't need to interact with any
Mold
of the
one,
stuff.
hardest fight in the game, I thought.
To me, the hardest
Tanks.
fight. Mold one was pretty hard. Oh, I told you about this, but the funniest thing I had is I had Mold one and Former. Both of them. I died when I killed them, so I didn't
Oh,
get to
funny.
see like an ending animation.
That's
It's like I shot off something,
Dude, unlucky
and then I
brother.
died,
Yeah.
and then in the like death screen, there's the trophy that I killed.
Oh
it.
my gosh.
That's funny because I was on PC and there aren't trophies, so yeah, I didn't see any of
That
that.
boss was hard. That was a
That
but
was a
so
hard
I,
one.
like I went. I don't.
I was way too underpowered to fight
I went
it.
back down to Mold, and it was just like it was just the room, and then I didn't have any way to get out. So it was like I don't know how do you.
There's just a control point through a little door.
Oh, okay.
That's how you
so
get
maybe
back
I just
out.
missed the door there.
Yeah, yeah.
actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was trying. Well, now I've.
Huber, you go. I'm just kidding.
That's actually something that I want to comment on. I was wondering at the beginning, I was like, oh man, there's no difficulty options. Like, is this going to be lame? And it actually has, I would say, for the most part, a pretty nice difficulty to it where I think, like, you always have to be paying attention during fights, and things can go bad really,
Yeah,
really quickly.
real fast, yeah.
Just because of the way they decided to implement the health system. Like, if you're not paying attention, you will die. But there weren't really any moments I can think of in the game, in my playthrough, that I felt like were cheap.
It never felt
Just
cheap.
that
No.
Hive boss was not cheap but hard.
Which
man.
one?
The mold one. I mean,
The mold boss was
Yeah.
hard. Mirror
took
boss
me
was
like
sorta
7
hard.
times.
You guys did the
I
mirror
took a
thing,
lot
right?
on
I did
usage.
not do the mirror.
Mirror's great. It gave me my favorite outfit.
Ooh, nice.
Did you get that?
The
outfit?
yeah, the one
Getting
you sent me.
outfits for
Yeah.
games
Yo!
stuff is
What-
really
The
That's
fun.
good.
outfit, the outfit is so missable
It's so
because when you
sick.
walk in, it's
like
my
on
favorite
the-
outfit.
yeah, it's
when you walk
amazing.
in, it's behind glass on a mannequin.
Oh.
There's one mannequin that looks a little different. When you go in and you fight the mirror boss like shatters all those windows. You know, when you come back out, that glass is shattered and the mannequin has like a black jacket.
It's like
on it.
straight
Oh,
80s.
okay.
It's like and it-
sci-fi.
You look. It's like a trench coat dress thing with like you look like some kind of like demon sci-fi preacher. It's
sick.
awesome. It's
Yeah,
called
it's
the asynchronous suit. It's my
I would
favorite
love
outfit.
for that to be my vibe. That's a good
Dude.
vibe.
That's pretty cool.
It is the greatest outfit in the game. And
But
it's-
I can't not wear the suit as the director.
Oh,
I
sure.
got RP.
Oh, that was
I
really
got
good.
RP as the director.
Duty.
Yeah.
The that was probably the hardest I guess puzzle moment for me too was in the mirror because the
The reflections
for the
and stuff.
doors
Well,
or
well because they had the it's basically like the I don't know, it's like the head drawn type thing where you like have to fill in the gaps. Circle it until like you fill the shape, and they had all of these drawings around in that room.
oh, that's the activating the HRA.
No, it was just in the mirror world. It was like the puzzle was just like literally just to open a chest.
Oh, I didn't do that.
But yeah, so basically there was one of the little chest things that pops up with items, and it was linked to this terminal that had one of those.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
open that one.
Like those cube things.
I didn't even
skipped
see
it.
that. Weird. I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
And so like I looked at all like okay, so there's all of these diagrams on the wall, but like okay, this one's filled in this way, this one's filled in that way, and like I tried them all, and I
But
tried
they're all
the, like,
backwards?
reverse version
Me
of
too.
them.
Me too.
The way that you get it is you have to pay attention in the regular world. That same monitor's on the other side of the room because everything's flipped. And then, like, basically, I took a snapshot of my phone.
Oh.
And then you use what was on the monitor, and then you flip that.
Oh my god. Yeah,
it.
that was
Didn't do
cool. The good luck.
Dude,
Did
that
you all
one
do the
was
luck
so
puzzle?
hard.
I don't remember.
Probably. I'm trying to think.
It's
of
up in Ritual Division. The luck,
craps
luck
table,
and
the roulette
probability.
table,
No, I did not.
No.
It's.
Oh my
I won't
God.
spoil how to do it, but it's pretty funny.
It took me
And what you get is pretty cool.
like an hour.
it didn't take me that
That was a
long.
long time.
It took me a long time.
They're only-
I
like-
say that because that makes me nervous.
Yeah,
Like,
there are
oh,
only
boy.
like 3 variables that you just kind of have to trial and error. If you do the rest right.
because they throw some red herrings in there.
Yeah. Well, it's just the 3 question marks. They're like, we don't know if the elephant or the cat or the horseshoe. Like, figure
Yeah.
it out.
See
I
control.
might have missed that. Yeah.
Dude.
It's
Control-
fun. It's fun.
Like
It's in Luck and
I
Probability
probably,
by Ritual
I probably
Division.
shouldn't have finished Control because I was like, as I was playing Control, I was trying to do Iceborne and Astral Chain at the same time, but I was just like, I love this so much, I at least have to see the end of the story.
Once you
So that
pop,
was-
you can't stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's easily one of my favorite games of this year, and maybe I really liked it a lot.
So
You know,
pumped
I
for
think it's one
DLC,
of my
yeah.
favorite games this year. I don't know where it's at, but I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the sensation as soon as it was over. I was like, man, I wish Remedy released games more often because they have a special touch that I think is just so appreciated.
They really do. And I was talking with a friend of mine about the voice acting and some of the writing, and they weren't vibing on it, which was interesting to me because like I super was. And like some of the lines are a little cheesy and some of the delivery is a little weird, but it's like it's got that Remedy vibe, and it's just so great. It's just such a weird,
I definitely
perfect
feel like there's
vibe.
and maybe I mean I'm sure some of it's intentional because
Yeah.
of how weird the place is supposed to be, but there are definitely points where like the map just like lost me a little bit.
Oh, the
and
map is
confused-
trash.
Yes, they're patching it. They're changing
Yeah.
it.
Well, I don't
Really?
like
I
judge
actually-
the map
Yeah.
itself by like what you see on
'Cause
when
no
you
one-
pull up the
Yeah,
map.
I know you liked it, but I did not like that map.
I sort of,
either.
I mean,
The
I-
hell?
And just like the
thought it was pretty
layout
bad.
of certain areas, like anytime I got around the janitor's office, I'm like, wait, where
Yeah.
Where am I?
Because you would be like
This
in a
room, is that
black
room?
space that's not on the map so many
I-
times. I'm like, where the hell am I?
I feel like the signs in the building were more
So
useful.
much more helpful.
Yeah.
That's what I started doing, Ben. I stopped
yeah.
looking at the map.
Well,
Which
I
is cool.
thought the
Mission
map was
accomplished.
intentionally
Kind of.
obtuse. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I could maybe like buy into the intentionally obtuse argument a little bit more if it wasn't also so explicit, where it's like,
Right.
no, I mean, it is still a map and it has everything divided up and it shows you a dot exactly where it is. Like,
When
if,
I
it
was-
is, if it is trying to be obtuse, I think this is a weird way to go about it.
Yeah. When I was trying to do the paper lantern like Langston missing items
That
quest,
was tough to find.
I looked around for probably an hour on in logistics or wherever, and by the transit hallway or
Dude, the
transit
clocks,
corridor.
man,
And
those
I was just like,
clocks.
where the hell is this thing? And then I found it by accident when I was giving up and just went the other way in logistics and found that like wounded soldier guy, and then you had to go through the motel to get to the
Oh,
sealed
yeah.
threshold corridor. And I was just like, oh. So like the way to get over here just isn't even on the map.
The
where I was
mood,
like
man.
trying to like get through like weird like oh man.
Those clocks.
clocks are
just
cool.
so many. And the paper lantern looked really cool.
Yeah.
We
The
haven't really
anchor.
talked too much about powers yet, but I love in a game like this when you get something and you're like, wait, the way that I process these rooms is different.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is levitate, where you're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, like
Yeah.
I can go anywhere. And it's such a cool feeling. It's like, oh, I'm going to jump on top of this, see if there's anything up
I
there.
found so many secret areas in that area before the Blackrock Quarry. There's like so
Yeah.
much up
Yeah.
there.
So you get an ability point if you like go
Yeah.
down somewhere. In
There
there.
are
There's a few
yeah.
places like that where you
Yeah.
find hidden
It says
areas.
hidden area
Yeah.
found.
Yeah.
I was talking in the frame trap. I talked about how good the launch feels, and like maybe
Yeah,
there
launch
was
is
something
great.
under the hood about how it assigns priority or whatever.
The launch is overpowered.
Oh,
it's
it's
the best
it's
in the game.
insane. But a developer, I've been talking with a developer for Control on Twitter, and he was saying like, you're not far off. Like there's so much going on under the hood for launch that he was like, I want to write a blog post on it, and I was like, please do. You know, like I don't know if he'll do it, but
I
yeah.
assume we're winding down, but I want to get everyone's opinion on what I consider one of the best video game environments of recent memory, The Oldest House. To me, exploring The Oldest House was top tier video gaming. You know?
Yeah.
I really loved just the slow progression through this place, unlocking places, learning about the place, getting levitate, and then it completely changing the way you interact with the oldest house. I love the design of the oldest house.
So
Do you
Hubert,
guys- do you guys
Brutalism.
agree?
My disappointment actually has nothing to do with Control itself. It has to do with the marketing, where the Control trailers were really memorable for me. A lot of those scenes really stuck into my mind just because they were so visually cool. So when I saw those in the game, they just didn't have the same impact. Not because they weren't amazing, they really were. But I was like, man, those trailers really showed a lot more than maybe I was hoping for.
When I was playing through the game, I was actually pretty shocked at how late game
Yeah.
the stuff they showed was.
Ever
They show a
since
lot
the
in that
Phantom Pain trailer showed
Show it
the
all.
like last 10 minutes of the game, I like my media blackout like went to another level.
But
I'm
like
done with
Control, they
trailers.
show. I mean, like, I think it. I understand why they did it, but like they show you levitating, they show you the
Yes.
panopticon,
and
they
like
show
think
you
about how
everything.
late game you get.
You get levitate. It's the last skill. Like I kept
70% of the way through
because
main
they
game.
showed levitate in the trailers. I kept thinking like, oh, maybe there's a secret
game,
other
yeah.
skill.
I think it especially hurts this game because, and if you watch the trailers, you might even get this. I had this sensation a little bit. Is it's not super crazy all the time. A lot of it is very regular, like this is a quarry, this is an office building, this is a mechanical area.
Yeah.
like,
Corey to me though is pretty crazy.
The quarry, well,
the quarry is crazy.
The quarry is in another plane
the
of
ultimate point
existence.
that I'm trying to make
Right.
is it's not always just like crazy colors and things. And I think that plays to its benefit where you
Yeah.
are in an area that's irregular and then you almost forget and you look up and you're like, oh yeah, there are bodies floating above me. I think that's really, really cool. But it makes those moments where it does kind of turn the knob up I think, even more impactful because it's not there all the time.
I
And so I am disappointed that it spoils some of those knob turning.
It was interesting. Like they showed Benikoff TV in the trailers and stuff, and like the Prime Candidate program, how the building just like twists and goes away, and like that only happens like in that area in
Yeah.
the and it's cool that they do that
And
sparingly
even like
because
the
it makes it feel
Inception, like
that
doesn't when you like do a cleanse a control
Right.
point or whatever, like
Doesn't do it every
the
time.
marketing is like, hey, this is gonna be like Inception. We're gonna be like,
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
It's like, no, it's more
Well, I was,
restrained.
the one thing I was worried about with a game, taking place entirely in one building was sameness, and I was worried that it would get stale. And I'm happy that it kind of didn't.
Yeah.
Like the mold really helped.
I think that stuff was distinct enough for every
Yeah,
area. Kind of had its own vibe.
each wing kind of felt
Yeah.
different for sure. Yeah,
I got like maybe a touch of sameness, but
a little bit, but not as much as I thought.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah,
that completely.
yeah.
Could use
I
a
would
little more
say
bathroom variety.
I would say for the most part,
I could have done
was
with, like,
pretty impressed with how different each of the sections felt. The big
Well,
sections.
and it's the perfect like. I am very confident they're going to keep going with this because
A new wing unlocked.
because they say so many times that like how little they know about the oldest house and how it's
So there's
constantly
so much,
changing
like,
shape.
Infinite potential.
Control
pretty much.
MMO incoming.
Infinite
Yeah.
potential. Like we could discover like an arboretum and like it's like a jungle.
Will Alan
you know?
Wake show up in Control or in an Alan Wake game?
I wouldn't be surprised if you like unlock some kind of like time thing and go and do little vignettes or something.
Like
That's
if,
kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
if they made Alan Wake 2, they should just had a point where like she walks out of a door and they look at each other and she just closes the doors.
that would be really good. She's just
That's
like,
it.
really good.
she's
That's
like,
it.
oh, sorry, wrong
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, that's it.
The motel is behind her, and you're
He's
like,
just
oh,
like,
she's
what
like,
the
oh,
It's so
wrong
perfect.
door. Who the hell was that?
Oh, it's good.
Of course, he would think it was his wife or something.
I think the level design in this game was pretty good.
Yeah,
for
Brad,
what it was.
You're a stickler on this stuff. What do you think of the oldest
I
house?
think it could. I was so when they were throwing around the word Metroidvania to me, I was like, oh, maybe that. It wasn't as Metroidvania as
Yeah.
what I thought it was
That
when they were
didn't pay
saying
off
that.
as much,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was like
Yeah.
a few little areas here. It wasn't like I didn't feel like exploring as much as like I would out of a Metroidvania. Of course, it's hard in a 3D game, but it still felt pretty straightforward. There's like a few hidden things here and there, but nothing like really substantial. I felt like.
I agree with that. I think in the scale of Remedy, though,
Yes.
it was.
Right.
Yes,
Right. And so if
definitely
if you're
from where
just-
they've come from.
Right. If you're just analyzing it from their catalog, the openness in Control, I think, is pretty
It
impressive.
has-
But
yeah.
I think if you compare
There was a
it
couple
to
moments
other-
where you're like going really far down and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, I really liked stuff like I was hoping there would just be more kind of that. But at the same time, it is the oldest house, I guess, which is like a weird like office with like weird research centers. But I guess it is the oldest house where anything's possible. I don't-
Right.
Man, I just during the Ashtray May section.
Oh my God.
I was
dude.
just so happy.
This is my favorite
Also,
moment of the year, dude.
did you guys-
Highlight.
I went
it was
to the-
definitely
That was a
yeah.
good moment.
I
yeah.
went to the Ashtray Maze before I was meant
Oh, yeah.
to. Did you guys?
No,
I did, yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
You-
totally.
And the way that
Oh,
yeah,
I was in there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what
Right,
I was
and
doing wrong.
You can. I think there are like chests that you pick up.
There are a
There's
few.
one- yeah,
yeah,
I got like
one or
one.
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love that how they use it. And then when you have that going there beforehand, I think makes that moment
makes it
even
way better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. The payoff is so good.
Yeah, because I mean, I do think there's like again, like the whole mold area, like that's something you see really early on.
Yeah.
And
But you
not
can't
until
drop down.
You can't do anything
Yeah.
until you get levitate.
I think I just like the sense of you're saying like a Metroidvania to me. I think of like getting an ability to access an area a lot more often. Like you get the gravity, the floating thing, which is definitely implemented in it.
Yeah, I think it's basically all on levitate. Like,
Yeah.
there's not
Yeah.
many other abilities.
Like,
that
am I
really
gonna
help
get
you do
some like
anything.
thing to pull something out, like a door or something
Right,
that I couldn't access
right.
before?
To bounce off that, Brad, I think that is actually a really good point. Like the way that they use telekinesis for puzzle solving, it's like, hey, take this fuse box
Square into
and
box.
put it in the
Yeah.
light, and it's like we're gonna keep doing this. And yeah, I think if you are gonna have moments like that, it could have, for as creative as a lot of that game is, I think maybe they could have used the powers outside of combat in more creative ways.
I kept imagining like, how do normal people
Get through this office.
get these fuse boxes? Yeah, like do stuff in this
Yeah.
How do
workplace.
people work here?
Yeah, how do
There's
they
a lot of like high ladders.
how do they connect these?
How do you
there
get out
were
of here?
ladders
Yeah,
next
there's
to
a
them.
lot of
yeah,
those
there were
big
ladders.
ladder
So it's like
things.
these poor schmucks just have to like
Dude,
I was
haul
just
this
like, dude,
generator.
Is there one way out of this whole place? Like,
Right.
if you're in the farthest
Yeah.
section of the place, takes like
Hopefully
an hour
there's
to
not
get
a
out of
fire.
work.
Would control game be able to exist outside of the oldest house? Like if she walks out into New York City, like could you have a control
That's kind of what
game?
that's kind of what I'm hoping might happen in Control 2 or like DLC 2 is the hiss problem is contained, the lockdown ends, and you go out on jobs investigating
Objects of power.
objects of
and stuff.
power.
Paranormal investigator.
Yeah, dude. Like Control 2 is the X-Files.
Man, you know what I would really like
Yeah, dude.
is like you go to another country and they have like their own oldest house.
Yeah.
And it's
Other branches.
because
Like freaking Hogwarts versus
yeah.
whatever.
Or
Yeah.
like branch offices. Like a
Because
small town has a
because
Bureau
I-
of Control and it sucks. It's like tiny
I
and
think
underfunded.
like the real world finding phenomenon out in the world is cool, but I think that's been done.
Yeah.
And so I would love like the way that this oldest house is just
So different.
radically different. Yeah, I don't know.
That
yeah, I
is
mean, the-
amazing. I love both those videos, guys.
I mean,
It's
the
fantastic.
potential, even within the oldest house, is literally endless. So it's like they've given
Like, you
themselves
go
the
to an
perfect.
alternate dimension.
Which
or
is,
But I
whatever.
mean,
you
like,
kind of touched on
perfectly-
it. It is kind of scary. The potential, unlimited potential.
Yeah.
Your expectations kind of.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
what I would like is now that you have fully embraced the director role, you have to kind of manage the departments a little bit.
Make a choice.
Sure,
on something.
yeah.
Like
Funding.
and just like what you're doing, you have to make decisions for what happens, and maybe that causes disagreements between different departments or people within the same department.
That would
I
either-
think that
Some
would be really cool.
sim management spin-off.
That would either be
You're like-
awesome or the worst.
What I'm envisioning is it doesn't go too hard in
Right.
it,
Just
but,
dialogue
but it's
options.
like, hey, what you encounter when maybe are affected by these light decisions that you're making. Like I
I
would still
love
want it to
that.
be the kind of game that it is, with maybe that thrown into.
Do you want to pump your like funds into investigating the hiss or like upgrading your service weapon or something?
Oh man, stuff
or,
like that stresses me right out. But back to kind of what Brad said, I had a thought about that is, yeah, it was less Metroidvania and more just like kind of linear with like some huge branches, 4 of which are completely optional. You know, I was actually talking with a friend of mine. And he was bummed that it was super linear, and he was like, it's just like BioShock where you.
You're in this
Find out
area.
about he was like, you find out about the head of a department and you go and fight them and then you come back, and I was like, well, the first half of the game is like that and the rest is kind of not, but like the fact that you haven't even done the mirror thing and I'm
it's
trying to
cool.
remember like where it was
That's the
and
thing
I
is
can't.
a lot of the side stuff is off the beaten
Is
path.
complete-
You do have to.
The anchor, like
Yeah.
you could miss that entirely,
There's
and
a
I did for a
lot of
while.
that stuff.
Yeah, like a lot.
Langston's Runaways.
Which I really yeah.
The,
Langston's Runaways gets you there. The AT maintenance stuff gets you to some cool places.
Yeah, well, and again, like Levitate, like even in places that you don't think about, like the main like central research
Yeah.
area, like there are some extra rooms around there, and I think you think you do have to do them for some of the mold quests. You do have to float over to some of those areas.
Some of them, yeah. But
But-
like, there's that one room where you pick up a thing and then like 8 mold bad guys show up behind you, and it's just like you had to
Mold
fly
tanks.
there. That's like the only way. Yeah.
Can I bring up a few concerns I had with the game?
Sure.
So I felt like a lot of the stuff you found, like from side quests, yeah, you get a good reward, but I felt like the chests, like the upgrades were never like super substantial, and there's the whole thing where you like spend your currency to get a random upgrade, which
Yeah,
felt like
I
a
barely
weird.
ever touched those,
That's
yeah.
the thing though. The thing is in the game, and no one even messed with it. It
Yeah.
felt like just like a wasted.
You know
thing
what
that
I-
didn't even need to be in the game.
You know what I did was after I'd unlocked everything and maxed everything out, I just started paying to
Yeah,
upgrade the
that's when
levels
you
of
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
But
it's like the
but I'm like, I have
in-game
no
thing.
intention of ever like using it.
Yeah, it just felt like weird that they implemented this thing in, but like no one seems to even care about it or use it.
I didn't realize how.
I thought there was a good amount of customization, and
I didn't
And your
even-
gun, like it's okay, but yeah, I'm talking about like mainly that box thing because you told me
The-
you didn't
yeah.
use it.
the
the
creating
modules
the mods
thing. Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was saving all my resources to upgrade my
upgrading
guns to the max.
Upgrading the guns path
Yeah.
is really good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the board countermeasures thing was not actual side quests until like 70% of the way through the game. I wasn't doing it. Luckily, you can abandon them and then it gives you good ones.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, if I have to go through like early game things, ugh.
I feel like the way that I tackle games like this is being like, okay, what am I fighting? What do I have that would be good against that? Okay, that thing works. And then just like moving forward until I reach another point of resistance. And I think that the only thing that's a little bit frustrating about the mods is like they're structured in such a way where I wasn't that excited about experimenting, and I
Yeah.
wasn't struggling enough or encountering the enemies didn't have enough attributes to them to like really make me think like, oh, okay, I should use this against these guys or that against these guys. It was just like, I'm gonna prioritize damage. I'm gonna make spin even faster.
Spin is crazy.
And it was like this combined with leveling up launch is like
You could steamroll the whole game.
There were a few.
But you could do that with a lot of guns, and that's what I respect.
Yeah.
It's like if you slot in shatter damage, like you're gonna blow everyone away. Like,
But it's like-
it was designed where you could tailor your playstyle a little different,
kind of.
like a little bit, just enough.
I think what's more exciting than being like you can reach a point with everything where it's amazing is like, oh, I feel compelled to mess with everything because the game is demanding.
Right.
And I didn't feel that.
Like,
It's
there were-
yeah, it's cool that everything can be amazing, but like these two things are amazing and like that's enough.
Right. Like I used spin and charge for almost the entire game.
I used a pistol for like 90%.
I used it
of
the
the
whole
whole
game.
Omar was
I
using
used
grip
the
for the
pistol.
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used spin and Pierce was my
Well, like,
Pistol,
Pierce, I would take
and
out-
Shatter with a 3 that I was really.
Oh, I tried Shatter twice and was like, nah. But like Pierce, I would take out anytime those like mold plant snipers
Yeah.
were around. I would definitely use Pierce on them.
There were
hated
just
those.
plenty of instances where either the damage from Pierce was good and what you were fighting was slow enough that you could
far
really
away,
get
yeah.
it, or just distance.
One definite time where I used the modules on a gun was fighting Mold 1 and Former. I definitely stopped to make sure that I had use less ammo when levitating
Yeah.
equipped.
Yeah.
I put
Totally.
2 of them on spin, and it's like almost infinite ammo.
ammo.
Apparently, there's someone who was saying there was a thing that you can do to get literally infinite ammo for the
Oh,
grip.
That's interesting.
It's where it's like it refunds ammo on hits.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
had
yeah.
that. I had a low percentage one.
Yeah.
shots or something.
See, but that stuff carries through the entire
But
game.
I
and
feel like
it's
it doesn't matter until the end. Like when you start getting stuff that really affect the combat, that's near the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like if I'm getting 3% ammo refund from the spin, like that's cool. But like when you're getting one that has like 20 something at the end of the game, then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm actually going to use this
one,
now.
The one that I really felt the most, that seemed the most useful, is speeding up C's. Because could
See,
speed up
everyone
speed
uses
by
different
like
ones. I love this.
69%.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, like, all right, you're mine.
And I used health
You go take
pickups
care
because
of
I
them
dash
guys.
everywhere. I did one of the
Yeah.
health pickup ones. Like you get more when you pick up
Oh,
health.
yeah, that's a huge.
'Cause I dashed
deal
everywhere.
too,
Dude,
yeah.
when I was fighting
I used the health
mold
pickup one
and
today,
hadn't
yeah.
upgraded my health, and then I decided I had to go and do other quests to upgrade my health. Then I found a prime health. Increase your health 50% one, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, that's huge."
that's huge.
It's like, "Whoa!"
And I like again.
My health bar is
I-
like this long.
I really like it. Just how it's not overwhelming. There's not too much. There's just enough. Because I go back to Uncharted 4 and I think about that compared to Last of Us. Like maybe it's just me being casual, but I love getting shit from defeated enemies. I love it. I go back and I play Uncharted 4.
I don't think we're saying that it's not. We don't like it. Or
Yeah.
that there's not a lot of merit there. It's just like sitting down and thinking like, how could this be better now that we've finished it?
for sure. But like
My main thing is what Brad was talking about, the crafting system.
yeah.
There's so much stuff, like random drops
Right.
and
Yeah.
chests.
You don't
and
even
stuff,
need to do
like,
it.
I don't ever feel the need to go
To
in
me,
and
it
try to
seems
make
like
my own.
something. It seems like something they put in the game, like mid development process.
To use
And
your
then-
extra.
Well, and then like didn't take out, because it's like it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not using it. I'm not mad that it's in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, and like who knows? Maybe there's some weird thing that we haven't realized because none of us used it, where it like they have a higher percent, like they
Well,
proc better things every time or something.
Dude,
like,
I
who
did
knows?
because I upgraded it to the max and I did a personal mod and I made one and it was like it gave me like a better shield and I was like, I don't want that. I
Right.
just used all my resources
Yeah.
for that. Like
yeah, that's
Oh,
the thing.
it's
Is like
randomized.
Yeah.
it's the random acts.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
and it's like some of those resources
you can
are
spend to
super rare.
You can
that
spend
need
money to
upgrade
reveal
your-
them. I think I remember that being there.
Oh, I don't remember that.
But maybe
Uh,
I'm-
you could refresh.
Oh,
It was upgraded
Yeah.
and refresh.
okay.
Something that I do want to say about the combat though, and this was like the last thing that I was expecting going into this game, where like I enjoyed the combat just as much as I enjoyed the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
I
combat was
looked
great.
for, and again, like there are some things that I think could be better, but like the flow of combat, how easily you could chain different things together. Like fights were exciting
Yeah.
for the most part from beginning to end, and it's just like I going into this game I did not expect that.
Just
And
the seamlessness of shooting and then launching and like jumping and floating and shooting and launching and dashing.
And something that we
Like,
didn't
oh,
even
man.
bring up is, and we did mention it on Frame Trap, but like I think the destruction adds so much.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God,
think
great,
people
yeah.
should totally be praising that.
Also, like there are some walls you can break and there are hidden passages behind them.
Yeah.
First
I've
time
only
I ever
found,
did that, I was
one
like,
time.
"What?"
That's
In the medical wing, in the back of the medical, I found one, and
Yeah.
I found one somewhere else, and I was just like, "Oh,
Yeah, there
we're
was just
doing
a
that
There
now."
was just a place that I came across where like I could see like a chest on the other side of a fence, and I'm like, okay, what's that? Where's that room?
I think I know exactly where you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and
Yeah,
then
you
I
break the
broke
wall.
the
Yeah,
wall. Oh crap!
That's
transit
cool.
corridor, I think somewhere in there.
But one of my favorite combat things that kind of popped up towards the end is the orbs or whatever that heal guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
To seize those.
seizing those, dude.
Yeah, that's cool,
Seizing
yeah. Hell
those
yeah.
is dope.
And
Yep.
seizing them and seizing another guy or two,
Yeah.
so that like it's keeping them up at full health
Yeah.
as well.
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
You're talking about like upgrading, and something that I do really admire about Control is like, for as powerful as launch is, and as much as I relied on it, like there'd be plenty of moments where I'm like, man, I wish I had more energy.
Totally.
Gotta upgrade that. And so
Totally.
the systems were interchanging in such a way where it was like, man, I upgraded launch a lot, but to really get the most out of this, I need more energy, and so I'm
Totally.
gonna have to rely on my guns more. And so there is interplay between those things in a very cool way.
Yeah.
Bouncing between your guns and your powers. Just
A nice evolution from Quantum Break.
Oh,
Feels
for
like they made
sure.
Quantum Break and they're like, oh, this combat system's
Yeah.
good. Let's bring it in our next game.
took it to the next level.
And
Yeah,
you
for
said this
sure.
in Frame Trap, but I just wanted to reiterate it because it's so true. The decision to not have regenerating health and to have enemies drop health is so good in this game, and because it forces you to like overextend sometimes to get health, which is just really exciting. I loved it.
This is definitely a generalization, but sometimes it feels like in games where it's like, oh, like you're just doing health this way because, 100,000 other games have done it.
Right.
Whereas like the way that they do the health and the pickups and then how that plays in the mod, it feels so carefully designed for the type of combat and counters they're bringing forward in this game. And yeah, there's a lot of moments where I had that in Control, where just like, it doesn't feel like they're just taking what they've done before or looking what has been done. Like they were going for something super specific here. Like just the way that the world is constructed, the way combat plays out, the story that they're trying to tell. Like there's a lot that feels very well thought through. And I said as much on Frame Trap.
I
mean-
want to launch right now.
Right.
I want to.
I really love the sound. The whoop.
Oh, and launching back missiles feels so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And Former, if you have launch large,
You can't.
Yeah.
you can
actually
launch.
can't do that right away.
You can
can't do the
you
launch
can
in
launch the
diagonals.
balls back at
Yeah.
it, which is so cool. I mean, for me specifically, personally, like it's a huge sign in a game where I've beaten it and I still want more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want to be playing Control
Maybe
right
that
now.
was their. We were talking about the ending a while ago. Maybe that was the whole point
Right.
of it, is to just leave us wanting more. Because I feel like all of us do want more.
definitely.
I mean, but
So
like
it's
they've intentionally, very obviously left 3 huge threads, like Darling, Marshall, and Dylan.
Yeah.
Feel like huge threads, and the Hiss still being in the oldest house. Like
Right.
those are 4 gigantic plot things that are still open, and it'd be
I'm waiting for,
crazy
like-
if they don't go forward with those.
Waiting for the
Even
long con
Polaris is
with
kind of-
Emily.
is pretty
Polaris,
open.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the
Like-
thing with Hedron dying
Yeah.
and then you
You're-
finding Polaris within you is like what just exactly
right.
happened
That
there?
was-
Yeah.
That moment felt like it happened
Yeah.
way
too fast.
When
yeah.
that moment happened, I was like, I got to remember to ask Ian about that.
Right.
Because
Well,
what's funny is like it's that kind of drawn out sequence with the satellites,
about it.
but then you actually get up there and it just
falls apart.
Yeah.
And then she freaks out, and then you're trapped in that nightmare for a while. The question that brings up is, does the HRA thing still work? Because if it's Hedron resonance
Well, that's-
amplifying,
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what Emily brought up. Like, oh, it went down for a bit, and then it came back online. It's basically
Oh.
referencing you coming back from the dream.
oh wow, okay, I missed that.
Dude.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The dream.
Sick.
So
The Emerald Dream.
But one
Yeah.
of the weird threads, and it could be just Dylan being under the influence of the Hiss and saying weirdo crap.
That their names could be boy and girl names.
Well, it sounded like it almost like it implied that
They're the same
they
person.
were the same person,
Yeah.
and they somehow got split apart in that whole incident.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was kind of just like, ooh, where are we going with this? Like, what is this?
that's the kind of thing where I feel like somebody could compile an argument for something in Control that's left open. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Doesn't feel loose at all anymore.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I mean, like, you could read it that way, that they're two halves of the same kind of entity, because she's super calm and controlled and he's pretty emotional and, like, has dramatic reactions to stuff. And then, like, as soon as she gains total control of herself and accepts where she is, he goes into a coma. So, who knows? And, like, he rejected Polaris. She embraced Polaris, and he embraced the Hiss, and she rejects the Hiss, you know? So it's, like, two different choice paths. Maybe, who knows?
Good ending, bad ending.
Or
The
maybe
town
they,
being
like...
named Ordinary was cute.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Maybe they did split into two, or like they went in and two different possibilities came out. Who knows?
Control is going to be the new Smash Brothers. It's just going to connect to all these game worlds. You're going to walk in, you're going to
Oh
be
my
in
God.
like Evil Within. It's
That has to be
was
like one of your biggest dreams.
Yeah.
That is a dream.
Control is
Still
like
waiting for that like Ubisoft monster game.
Umbrella Corporation like calls up Jesse Faden.
I also love how like Underhill just does not care about everything else.
Oh
that's
yeah,
going on.
she only cares about mold.
She's entirely obsessed with the mold.
Yeah,
And she's
And
like,
the mold, it like has this
Totally
weird
mean.
like explanation of like being like little buildings and stuff like that.
yeah, it's like
some
fractals.
organisms.
It's
Yeah.
not actually mold.
I like Jesse's response to her where she's like, hey, do you understand what's going on here? And you're freaking out about mold.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And then she's like, "Do you understand this
Yeah,
mold?"
yeah, yeah.
I love that the mold makes itself smell tasty, and then everyone just wants to eat it.
Yeah.
It's like mind control. And then you turn into a
one
mold
of my
monster.
favorite little interactions is when you first go into the Panopticon and like you have like this, you know, talking with Langston and like really getting to understanding of his backstory and what he's doing, and him like being this kind of like middle manager that like he's just worked here a long time and all that. But I love how like right before you walk in, he's like, you know, it's like it's great to meet you, great to have you as our new director. Call me Fred. He's like, thanks, Langston.
Yeah, she just doesn't. Yeah. Because there's always like there's a little weirdness between them
Yeah.
where it's like, is Langston trying to flirt and she's just
Yeah.
like aware of it and shutting it down? Like, there's interesting dialogue after you're the director where you like say like, how do you feel about me being the director? And he's like, oh, it's great, you know.
the guy that just like kind of sighs and like puts on his toury voice near the end of the game.
yeah.
You remember him as well?
Wait, which guy?
The guy, he's like balding. I don't remember his name.
That does sound like Langston.
I think
Yeah.
that's Langston,
that's like-
the
okay.
Panopticon guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He,
he does
he
the
puts
tour.
on his toury voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
And then she's like, oh man, there are just so many great little moments in that.
Yeah, definitely need more from that game.
Yeah.
I hope it's like existing in real time. So like when we get to like October,
It's like 4 months later.
the oldest house is like all Halloweened out or something.
my God.
It's like Halloween event.
Oh my
Another
god! If
Hubert
they
And then Christmas
decorate,
comes and it's like, hey, we put some Christmas lights
it
up.
becomes an online service.
oh my god!
Please no, none of that.
But and then I want a character. I want a character to, if that happens, like the oldest house keeps getting decorated. I want Emily to be like, yeah, we don't put up the decorations. The house just does it itself.
The reason I brought it up is because in Alan Wake, when Barney is wearing the Christmas lights around him, that image is just like seared into my brain. It's just so like cozy and striking. I love it.
Nailed it.
Alan Wake is pretty cool.
Yeah. Illegal
Wake
to
is
play it now,
alive.
though. You'll get arrested if you try to play it now.
Dude, I gotta go back and play Alan Wake 1 now.
I definitely had an inkling of that where I was like, man, I have not
Yeah.
played Alan Wake in forever.
Like, is the flashlight an OOP or something? Like, it's gotta be, right? The flashlight like burns away the.
I think
Yeah.
his
I don't-
writing was the object
Yeah,
of power,
it's-
right? Like the
and
book.
the AEW was the lake.
Because his
Or the
consciousness,
AWE. I always say AEW.
his consciousness into the book was like manifesting an altered world event.
Yeah.
I think was what was happening.
Object of power, dude.
Yeah.
It's a weird flashlight. it's
Alan
got to be
Wake
something.
was
It's
the
gotta
object of
be-
power. Like yeah,
Cabin. You give me no.
'cause all of it was fictional.
His jacket. I don't know.
Anywho,
The typewriter.
that's an interesting thing though. Alan Wake is like a person of power.
So is Quantum Break in this too?
Dude.
That's what I was wondering, but I
Like,
didn't
the
see
powers are so
anything.
similar,
The
dude.
thing is, I
Dimensional
know
rifts.
it's pretty timely because Remedy got the rights to Alan Wake back recently,
oh.
like less than a year ago. I feel like Quantum Break is probably owned by Microsoft
for now,
soon,
still, yeah.
so I'm not sure though.
Does anyone
I don't
own
know.
Remedy?
about
I'd love to
Quantum
get
Break.
Sam
Microsoft
Lake in
own
here
Remedy?
to
Yeah.
just
No.
chat.
They
They
don't
didn't get
remedy
bought?
now.
No.
Oh, okay.
What'd you say?
I'd love to get Sam Lake in here.
Oh my God, yeah.
We all, yeah.
All the way around,
What's
halfway
going
around the
on,
world.
Sam?
Let's get the entire
I would
team
need to
from
talk
Control.
about Remedy. Like we could just talk about whatever, and I
Yep.
think it would be fascinating. Yeah.
We could talk about going
I'd ask
into a
him about
test
Volleyball
room
for you.
and then suddenly
What he
like
thinks.
getting like this crazy
think about
like
the storytelling?
single.
Oh,
and-
the song room?
Yeah,
Like
the-
Kingdom Hearts
the-
did? What do you think about that?
I listened to the whole
blasting
song
music
and
at
nothing
people.
happened. Did you get a trophy for that in consoles?
No, there wasn't a trophy, I don't think, but they just had there was like a document that it kind of explained it was like part of some experiment.
Yeah.
Ian, I was gonna say, well, at least there's Steam achievement. Oh wait,
I'm not mad. I don't
no,
care.
I don't really care either. About like Steam.
You don't get
achievement. I've
achievements,
never
but
really
you
cared
get
about
ray
Steam.
tracing.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just
The game
a
looks
way better
freaking
trade-off.
crazy. Yeah, like
I'll
just so
trade you
used to
my,
Steam.
my trophies for your ray
I'll
tracing.
take ray tracing over achievements any day.
Yeah.
Oh man, that game looks good.
Yeah, I could get the platinum. It's just like one of those things where it's like
I
they're
stopped.
They're busy work.
Yeah,
the
it's
last
the
two things I
25.
have,
What are they?
25 countermeasures.
It's countermeasures
Oh,
and
geez.
the,
I bailed.
I think
I
they
bailed.
expected
The
you
You have
to.
to wait for those, right? They just come up.
No,
whenever?
it's the
little
three.
things.
You can have three at a time.
You can abandon them though.
Oh, okay.
You can abandon
Gotcha.
them and pick
Yeah.
easy ones.
But yeah, so yeah, there's
Ow.
that one, and then the ones where you respond to the alerts.
How many of those do
I
you
didn't
have
like
to
the
do?
alerts.
I don't know
I
how
was
many
actually,
I've
like,
done.
I only
kind of
did, like,
bummed
Two
out
the rest of the time.
the way
I like
that
that they
those
had insta-fail.
measures ended up
Yes.
because at the beginning where it was like, okay, it's cool that there's some like you have to do under very specific circumstances, but it's also kind of nice how that there's more general ones like fighting a bunch of guys without dying. The general ones kind of went away from me a little bit more quickly than I was hoping for. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like all of these are now super specific and like
Go
you
to
have to
this
go out
room
of your
and
way to
use
do
this
them.
gun and get headshots. And
Yeah,
Oh.
that,
I like-
that happened too
I don't
quickly.
think I
Those are
tried
the
that either.
alerts.
No.
No,
Or the
those are
countermeasures.
countermeasures.
Oh, yeah.
Board countermeasures.
Yeah.
You can like recycle them, and
Yeah.
I got one that was like killed 25 people in containment, and like people weren't spawning, and I was just like, dude, I'm over this.
Yeah.
I
That's what
don't
mean,
need
though,
your
is I wish
platinum
they
trophy.
were a
That's
little
the
bit
entirety
more-
of containment, but yeah.
Or even ones that were like, because we were talking about like finding something that works and sticking with it. It would be cool if there was more like, hey, use this gun or use this gun in this specific circumstance or something. I think they could have done a little bit more.
or like kill 3 things
there.
without touching the ground or something.
Yeah, something like that. I
Yeah.
think there was a
There
little
was
bit of
some
room there.
There were some weird ones. There was one like kill 3 snipers without getting hit or something. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's like they
snipers you
almost
don't
went
see
there,
very
Ben, but they
often
weren't
either.
that creative. I
I
guess.
think
Yeah.
they really meant for you to just have them active the whole game and get them accidentally, like by and large.
Yeah, they wanted
Like a lot
like
of them.
naturally just kind of.
Yeah. And I think
Well,
that's why they said
that's the thing
25.
is, like, it got to a point where even abandoning stuff, I only abandoned like a little bit, but I felt like every time I checked in, they were just all like very specific, and so
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah.
that accidental feeling. And maybe I just
Oh,
needed to
okay,
abandon
okay.
more.
And I kind of felt similarly with the alerts, where like this is just getting annoying.
Sometimes I would hear an alert happen during a cutscene.
Yeah, that too.
Like I'm talking to Emily Pope and it's like, and I was like, what the hell was that? Did I fail one? Did I just get one? Like I don't know. Yeah, a flawed masterpiece. Perfect in every way.
Perfect in every way.
a flawed masterpiece, dude. I agree with it.
I think Control is a very is like a great first step in this direction, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do with their next thing.
It's my it's my favorite Remedy game so far that I've played. I've only played like a few of them, but like I think it's their best controlling game. Lol, and like I really loved the setting and story, and I'm very excited to see more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
I guess
wait.
my concern with them doing more is, again, as we talked about, like how much you want to be left to mystery. Is like how do you expand on this in a way that doesn't just like make it all feel routine, so that like you still have that feeling like we were talking about the characters. It's like, oh, we know enough about this to use it to our advantage, but we still don't actually know how
Yeah.
much risk we're taking.
Also, the one thing, the trope in video games that I hope they do not do is don't pull an other M or something where it's
Oh,
like
take away powers.
take your powers away or
I
like
think it's gonna
move you
be-
back. Like keep us as the director, keep us with our powers, and just go forward from here.
I think if Control continues with sequels, I imagine not
Different
playing
people.
as Jesse.
Yeah, you won't.
Jesse
other
would be
powers
the-
would make more
yeah.
sense.
Jesse would be the director, and you would be
Which would
Emily
be
Pope
sick,
or
dude.
something.
Anytime
yeah.
you go see the director,
It'd be
Jesse.
dope. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that could be the kind of thing where it's like you like figure out how to share objects of power, or like, I suppose if there's like a villain that could destroy objects of power, it could actually work in reverse. It's like you start with all these powers, and then like
Oh, yeah.
things start getting taken away from you
Robs your
Yeah.
powers.
as you play, rather than just
I mean,
like,
that's
all at the
the-
front.
That's the next thing is like another person who can do this.
Do
kind of
what you
stuff.
can, yeah.
Now I just need to pitch Remedy on having them let me make an FMV mockumentary about people who work in the Federal Bureau of Control.
I would watch that.
Yeah. Let's make it happen, Remedy.
There's a lot of coffee cups involved.
Oh, for sure. Anything else anyone wants to say?
Oh, my favorite
We could
room.
talk about this forever, I feel like.
My favorite room was the sticky note room. Loved it.
Oh, that was great.
10 out of
Sticky
10.
note room.
Which sticky
10 out
note
of 10.
room?
Right in the
Oh,
main off.
you would know.
the
Yeah,
main-
You have to get the security clearance. That's one of those things where, like, I wish, like, the map would kind of, like, mark
Show you
doors
where you haven't
when
been,
you
yeah.
come across them or whatever.
It's like on the same level as Dylan when he's in the glass case. It's like
yeah, it's
on
really
that.
close to the director's
I think I
office.
saw
really-
the sticky note room.
You didn't see it?
No.
It
In
is
in Central
amazing.
Executive?
Yeah, the sticky note
right
keeps
there.
it keeps duplicating. So the whole
So you walk in.
entire room,
That's so
the
good.
ceiling, the floor, the walls,
I
covered
need to
in
go
sticky
find
notes.
sticky note room.
It is awesome.
That seems fun.
Always
I haven't
more to
seen
do.
it.
Yeah, that's
See,
cool.
there's more
That's
stuff I haven't
Yeah.
seen. This game.
Cool room.
All right, fellas. All right, thank you everybody for watching or listening to us ramble semi-coherently about Control for probably 4 hours. I don't know how long we've been in here, but I really like this game, and it seems like you guys did too. And I hope you all like it as well. And hopefully we'll see more from it soon. Thanks for being a patron. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.